You ever notice how every year we get these gigantic $100 million games with explosions and celebrity cameos and entire orchestras? And yet somehow a little team called Supergiant Games walks in with 20-something people and drops Hades 2 and the whole internet loses its mind. It's wild. Like, somewhere there's a boardroom of executives wondering, wait, how did our $400 million project get out-reviewed by 25 nerds who look like they haven't left the studio in 3 years? And the answer is actually kind of simple. They care. Not marketing deck care. Real, bleed for it, sleep on the sofa passion. Supergiant builds games like a band writes an album. Everyone plays an instrument, everyone argues about tempo, but they're playing the same song. There's no 50-page Excel sheet deciding when the drum solo happens. Meanwhile, in AAA land, the producer's yelling, "Can we make the combat more engaging for the 18 to 24 male demographic?" And some poor designer's like, "Sure, I'll just remove the soul from the game while I'm at it." You can feel it, right? Play something like Forspoken or Redfall, and you can almost hear the conference calls echoing in the code. Then you boot up Hades 2, and within 5 minutes you're like, oh, somebody actually loved making this. It's not that passion is magic dust. It's that passion changes how you make decisions. A passionate team argues about ideas. A pressured team argues about deadlines. When Greg Kasavin writes a line of dialogue, it's not to fill a quota. It's because he's trying to say something about hope and failure and getting back up again through a character swinging a scythe at a titan. That's poetry disguised as gameplay. And Gen Z? Every single frame of her art feels lived in. Nothing looks like it was ripped from a mood board. It looks like someone's sketchbook that accidentally became mythology. Passion doesn't mean chaos. Everyone romanticizes, we're just passionate, until they realize you still need structure. Supergiant has it. They work small because small means clear. No 5 departments sending each other Jira tickets just to move a bush 2 pixels left. When you've got 25 people, you can look across the room and go, hey, that bush looks weird. And they fix it. That's speed. That's honesty. And that's why Hades 2 feels tight. Every system is in conversation with every other system. You die, you come back, you talk, you upgrade, you fight again. Loop, rhythm, music. It's all intentional. Now compare that to the typical blockbuster loop. Cutscene, explosion, upgrade screen that looks like an Excel plugin, another cutscene. You can feel the teams weren't even in the same building. And you know what else? Supergiant doesn't chase trends. They chase truth. While AAA studios are asking, what's trending on Twitch this quarter? Supergiant's like, what story do we want to tell now? That's huge, because passion thrives on ownership. When you make decisions that are yours, you care if they work. If your publisher makes every call, you just try not to get fired. That's the real difference. Pressure kills curiosity. Passion feeds it. Look at Hades 2's early access release. Most companies see early access as a marketing tactic. Let's get pre-orders with a demo. Supergiant sees it as a conversation. They open the door early and say, hey, come build this with us. And players feel that. They stop being customers and start being collaborators. And the result? The community actually defends the devs when something breaks, because they're invested in the process. That's not PR. That's trust. You can't buy that with ad campaigns. You earn it by letting people in. When you strip away the noise, game development is just human energy turned into code. And humans can tell when energy is fake. You can't fake joy. You can't fake care. And you definitely can't fake love for what you're making. So when a team like Supergiant drops something like Hades 2, the audience doesn't just say, wow, cool roguelike. They say, this feels alive. Even tiny details show it. The way the animations breathe, not just move. The way the colors glow, but never shout. The way the dialogue treats you like a person, not a consumer. Those things don't come from money. They come from time and taste. Here's the thing nobody tells new devs. Money doesn't actually buy creativity. It buys options. And options can drown you. When you can do anything, you start doing everything. And suddenly, your game feels like a buffet of half-baked ideas. But when your budget's small, you choose, you focus, you learn to say no. And no is where style comes from. Limitations aren't walls, they are lenses. Supergiant doesn't have infinite tech, so they squeeze meaning out of what they have. They animate emotion instead of polygons. They write nuance instead of side quests. You can feel the heartbeat through the constraints. And it's not just about effort, it's about alignment. When a team shares a purpose, every pixel lines up behind it. That's why the combat feels musical. That's why the writing hits like a therapy session you didn't sign up for. That's why the soundtrack by Darren Korb slaps harder than most Hollywood scores. Because it's made by someone sitting in the next room, not outsourced halfway across the planet. That's what passion does. It keeps the soul close. Now, let's talk about the dark side of passion, because it's not all rainbows. Passion burns. It's risky. You can't pay rent with "we care." And some devs think being passionate means working yourself into the ground. It doesn't. Passion without boundaries turns into exhaustion. The trick, and what Supergiant nailed, is sustainable passion. Controlled fire. They take their time. They don't rush launches. They don't crunch. They trust their timeline. And that trust shows in the polish. You can't polish when you're burned out. You can only patch. So yeah, AAA studios might have the biggest budgets, but they're also playing the most expensive game of telephone ever invented. Someone writes a feature doc, someone misreads it, someone else approves it, and by the end, it's a Frankenstein monster of committees. Supergiant's process looks more like a jam session. They try, they talk, they tweak. They listen to their players. They let the idea breathe. And that's a huge lesson for any indie dev listening. You don't need money to sound big. You need clarity. If your vision is sharp, you can make a $10 asset look like $1,000. If your mechanics are honest, players will forgive jank. If your story has heart, people will carry it for you. That's how Hades 2 wins. Not because it's perfect, but because it's personal. It feels handcrafted in an era where everything feels generated. And maybe that's why we root for them. Because when we play Hades 2, we're not just fighting monsters. We're feeling the joy of a team that believed again. You can throw 10 studios and $1 billion at a project, but if nobody believes in it, it will still feel hollow. And you can have one small team with one shared heartbeat, and it will echo through the industry. So next time you sit down to make your game, don't ask, what can we afford? Ask, what do we believe in enough to make work no matter what? That's the magic formula. Belief, time, taste, trust. Because players can smell pressure from a mile away, but they feel passion instantly. And look, I get it. Budgets matter, tools matter. But passion is the multiplier. It's what turns 10 into 100. It's what makes a tiny game studio in San Francisco stand toe-to-toe with global corporations and win. That's why Hades 2 isn't just a sequel. It's a love letter to what's still possible when people make art, not products. So yeah, passion beats budget, every time. Not because it's cheaper, because it's real. And in a world full of cinematic trailers, nothing hits harder than something real. Hades 2 isn't just a great game. It's proof that art made with heart still wins. Thanks for watching. If this hit home for you, drop a like, leave a comment about what drives your passion project, and subscribe for more honest dev talks like this one. Because around here, we don't chase trends, we chase truth. And sometimes, that's all it takes to make magic. See you in the next one.